What's up, my little wooty woo? We finna talk about movies that are spiritual that we may not know are spiritual, but we are. Let's get into it. Number one, Spell. Let's read the description of it first off. Okay, so while flying to his father's funeral in Royal Appalachia, an intense storm causes Marcus to lose control of the plane, carrying himself and his family. He soon awakens wounded, alone, and trapped in Miss Eloise's attic. Eloise claims she can nurse him back to health with a hoodoo she's made from his blood and skin. Unable to call for help, Marcus desperately tries to break free from her dark magic and save his family from a sinister ritual before the rise of the blood moon. Oh my gosh. Let's play a clip of this so we can get a more better understanding of what's going on.
You gonna learn if you live long as me. Money can't get you everything, especially a telephone when you ain't got one.
You telling me you ain't got no telephone?
Suppose we bringing people together. Well, it ain't nothing but just the tools of the great divider. No. Now, I got a little something here that'll help you get better. This is my latest and greatest boogie tea.
What is that?
A boogie tea. You ain't never heard of a boogie tea? It's one thing standing for another. Now this, it stands for you. And the more it resembles you with blood and nail clippings, hair, a pinch of semen, then the more it is you, the more good things happen to it. The more good things happen to you.
Okay, what? She done made a little voodoo doll of that man. See, yeah, next. The stuff in these movies is crazy, and a lot of times, before God brought me to the light, I would have never picked up on that. I would have knew it was weird. That's all I would have thought, but I didn't understand the spiritual aspect of that stuff. Witchcraft type stuff. Yeah, next. Okay, the next one, the Skeleton Key. Let's read the description of this one. Let me get my big old noggin out the way. Caroline, sorry, the angle. Let me, hold on, make myself small. Yeah. Caroline Ellis, a good-natured nurse living in New Orleans, quits her job at a hospice to work for Violet, an elderly woman whose husband is in poor health following a stroke. When Caroline begins to explore the couple's rundown Bayou mansion, she discovers strange artifacts and learns the house has a mysterious past. And as she continues to instigate, she realizes that Violet is keeping a sinister secret about the cause of Ben's illness. Oh my gosh, let's find a clip of this. Let's go.
In Terrebonne Parish and the surrounding bayous of Louisiana, there are those who practice little-known rituals of magic and witchcraft, conjure and sacrifice. Some do not believe in their power, but strange, frightening, and unexplained incidents happen there to this.
Oh no, okay, I've not seen that movie, but from the clips of it, yeah, I'm not watching it. I don't suggest you watch it either. The clip is tripping. Y'all are tripping. Bye. And by I mean the next movie, Us. I know this is spiritual, but I didn't understand it when I watched this. So I'm lying. I didn't know it was spiritual, but it was creeping me out a little bit when I was watching it because I didn't understand it, but I knew something was like going on. So let's get into this one. Okay, description. Accompanied by her husband, son, and daughter, returns to the beachfront home where she grew up as a child. Haunted by a traumatic experience from the past, she grows increasingly concerned that something bad is going to happen. I guess that's her discernment. Her worst fears soon become a reality when four masked strangers descend upon the house, forcing the Wilsons into a fight for survival. When the masks come off, the family is horrified to learn that each attacker takes the appearance of one of them. Let's get into a clip.
Just got in today, so.
Once upon a time, there was a girl, and the girl had a shadow. the two were connected, tethered together. When the girl ate, her food was given to her warm and tasty. But when the shadow was hungry, she had to eat rabbit, raw and bloody.
Okay, the thing about us, it's a lot going on in this. So it's like, are they fighting like the internal selves, like which would essentially be like fighting your demons, like you versus your own demons? Because that's what I feel like they are representing. But they also could represent like familiar spirits, because familiar spirits come in a familiar form. Are you familiar with yourself? And then if you watch the movie, it's so much stuff that was going on in that movie. It's crazy. They was talking about the white rabbits in the movie. I'm not even sure what that symbolizes either. But yeah, it was so much spiritual stuff going on in that movie. But let's go to the next movie. Color Purple. Okay. I watched this. I didn't pick up on nothing spiritual that was going on in there the first time. But at that time in life, I actually was not Christian. So yeah. Let's read the description of it, and I'm going to play y'all a little clip. So, get out the way first, girl. An epic tale spanning 40 years in the life of Celie, an African-American woman living in the South who survives incredible abuse and bigotry. After Celie's abusive father marries her off to the equally debasing Mr. Albert Johnson, things go from bad to worse, leaving Celie to find companionship anywhere she can. She perseveres, holding on to her dream, one day being reunited with her sister in Africa, based on the novel by Alice Walker. So it ain't saying too much in this description, but if you watch the movie and you actually study the Bible and stuff, you probably, pick up on a lot of stuff now. But let's watch this clip.
Celie was always the most powerful, which is why everybody else around her wanted to make her feel up. They wanted to make her feel stupid, and they kept on abusing her. I knew from a young age when I was watching this movie that the people around Celie saw a light within her, and they knew it was going to turn into a flame one day. So they were trying to put out any hope possible. But with her letters to God, and when she met Suge, having that female energy that's not competitive or demean, breathe life into you when everybody around you who's supposed to love you has demeaned you, reawaken Celie's power that she always had. Celie is pretty much like a flower. You know what they say about flowers? You can't grow new shit on the same grounds that poisoned you. And that's everybody around her. And especially in this movie, black spirituality is alive and flourish. Celie binds her husband up a couple times towards the end. She says, until you do right by me, everything you think about will crumble, cursing him to reap what he sowed. And when she says everything you've done to me has already been done to you, those three fingers are a curse, cursing you under the Trinity of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Okay, for one, I do remember her doing that, and I did not know that she was cursing him.
Y'all see what I mean? Like, I didn't know that she was cursing that man either, but now I know. Curse those who curse thee, bless those who bless thee. This is what I'm saying. But now I got spiritual eyes, so I can pick up on a lot of this stuff. Let's roll into the next one. Eve's Bayou. This one right here. Okay, let's get into this. Move myself up. Hold up, Cuddy. Over the course of a long, hot Louisiana summer, a 10-year-old black girl, Eve, discovers that her family's affluent existence is merely a facade. The philandering of her suave doctor, Father Samuel Lewis, creates a rift, throwing Eve's mother, Roz, and teenage sister, Cicely, into emotional turmoil. Eve, though, manages to find some solace, I think that's right, with her quirky psychic aunt, Moselle. Okay, quirky psychic aunt. So, all right, we know where this movie's going. Let's go.
Peachy.
Okay, y'all, it's time to talk about what really happened in Eve's Bayou. Now, y'all know I wouldn't be the Queen Poe if I didn't talk about the spiritual aspects of the movie first. Now, there was a lot of spiritual gifts that were shown in Eve's Bayou, but a lot of people don't realize the first spiritual gift that we was exposed to was Eve's. Now, after the opening scene at the party, we see Aunt Moselle, played by Debbie Morgan. Her husband drives off, right? He gives Eve a coin and he drives off. That night, Eve, played by young Journey Smollett, has a dream that Aunt Mozelle's husband is unalived. She wakes up out of that dream and she holds the coin that he gave her. He ended up getting unalived. The next scene, they're at his funeral. Now, a lot of elders would call this having the gift of sight. She got the sight. Eve had the sight. We get to see right there that Eve has a spiritual gift of having foresight in her dreams. And a lot of y'all got this spiritual gift. I know you do. Some of y'all just ain't woke it up yet, but it's there. Then the next spiritual gift we get exposed to is Aunt Mozelle, played by Debbie Morgan. Now, Aunt Mozelle also has the gift of sight, but her gift is a little bit different from Eve's because Eve has the gift of sight when she is dreaming. Aunt Mozelle has the gift of sight when she is in her conscious mind. Now, Aunt Mozelle is basically the town psychic or town reader, right? She gets clients. People come to her for her readings. We get to see Aunt Mozelle's house. Aunt Mozelle has an ancestor altar, and on that ancestor altar, she has her husband and her previous lover who transitioned. We get to see Eve kind of playing at her ancestor altar. Let me not say playing. She was exploring her aunt's ancestor altar. And Aunt Mozelle also told Eve the story of what happened to her past lovers who all ended up being unalived. Now, it's important to keep in mind that because all of her past lovers have transitioned, Aunt Mozelle was kind of seen as like a black widow. And like I said, Aunt Mozelle was basically like the town psychic. There's a scene where she's seeing clients, and one of the clients, she even gives her a mojo bag prescription, right? Where essentially she tells her put some lodestone, some High John the Conqueror, and a few other things in the mojo bag and keep it close to her skin. All of the things that she gave her was for justice, especially financial justice, because she had a vision that the woman's niece had spent all her money, and the woman needed financial justice. So she gave her that little juju bag to keep close. She also told her to put 5 drops of holy oil in her right palm, right? So Aunt Mozelle was that girl. Aunt Mozelle was that girl. But baby, Elzora was also that girl. Now, Elzora was played by Diane Carroll. She was also the town reader, but her spiritual gift was a little different. Elzora practiced divination through throwing bones. But she proved to Aunt Mozelle that she was just as powerful of a seer, because in that market scene when Roz, who is Eve's mother and Aunt Mozelle's sister-in-law, Roz wants to get a reading from Elzora. Aunt Mozelle is like, oh, please, she's a circus act, doubting her gift. Well, when Roz sat down with when Roz sat down with Elzora, she read Roz the filth and told her, girl, you are sad. Happiness is coming in 3 years' time. You need to look to your children, and a soldier will fall on his own sword. And we know how that turned out. So all 3 of these folks were spiritually gifted, okay? And for all the folks who are interested in that, I want all of y'all to go back and look at the scenes where you can see Elzora's house and her table at the market, and just observe some of the sigils, the symbolism, the products that you can see that she had on the table and all that stuff, the juju jars and all of that. And then go look at Aunt Mozelle's house when she's doing her consultation and notice some of the things that you see in the background. A lot of juju and things in there. It's good stuff. Now, before I get to the good stuff, I have to point out that at the end of the movie, we do find out that Eve has the same spiritual gift as Aunt Mozelle, where she can read people by touching their hands. Okay, so Eve not only is a dreamer, but she also has the same spiritual gift as Aunt Mozelle.
She broke that down so good. There's no other explanation for that. We are so deceived, and these people that make these movies, a lot of these people be deceived too. Like, have God never came to me, I would have never knew none of this. I would have been watching all this, probably could have been in some of this. You get what I'm saying? But she made me want to watch that movie real good. Like, I want to watch it. I want to watch it over and over and over again. She broke it down, knowing I don't supposed to be watching nothing like that. But anyways, this is what I'm talking about. The spiritual stuff that we have no clue that be going on right in front of our faces. This is why we got to stay in the Bible, stay connected with God, stay in a relationship with God. Because then, we'll be able to see things more from a spiritual aspect than from our worldly eyes. You understand? Let's get into this next clip, because this one made me a little mad, okay? The lovely bones, okay? Okay, here's a description. After being brutally murdered, 14-year-old Susie Salmon watches from heaven over her grief-stricken family. So we know that's not true. If you a Bible thumper, you know that's not true. The dead know nothing. And her killer, as she observes their daily lives, she must balance her thirst for revenge with her desire for her family to heal. So they just putting out excuse my language, they putting out stuff that's not true. So this is just deceiving right here. Let's get into a clip though, so you can see what it's hitting on. And here go the scripture in case you didn't know. For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing. They have no further reward because the memory of them is forgotten.
He's cute. Does he like you as much as you like him? Grandma, would you please just drop it? Hey, Mom! Look at me! Smile! My name is Salmon, like the fish.
Okay, shipmate, take it away.
First name, Susie. Bye, Dad.
Bye, Susie. You are beautiful, Susie Salmon.
I was 14 years old when I was murdered.
You're the Salmon girl, right?
On December 6th, 1973.
We didn't find her, Mrs. Salmon. I'm very sorry.
Dad, she's dead, isn't she?
You miss her, don't you?
She's gone.
What if she isn't? What if she's still here?
Grandma, Susie's in the in-between. I wasn't gone. I was alive in my own perfect world. But in my heart, I knew it wasn't perfect.
Little girl talking about her murder serial haunted her. You did. You know nothing. Anyways, this is why we gotta be careful of what we watching. Feeding our eye gates and feeding our ear gates. And personally, no, I don't believe there's an in-between. You either go to heaven or you go to hell. That's it. I don't know where an in-between came from. But anyways, let's roll on to the next one. Beloved. Oh, this one trippy. This one real trippy, real bad. Like, Shawty had a whole demon in her house. They talking about reincarnation and all types of stuff. Oh my gosh. Okay, the description. In 1873, Ohio, Seth is a mother of three haunted by her horrific slavery past and her desperate actions for freedom. As a result, Seth's home is haunted by a furious poltergeist which drives away her two sons. Seth and her daughter, they was smart, got up out of there, yeah. Seth and her daughter endure living with the spirit for 10 more years, crazy, until an old friend, Paul, arrives to run it out. Paul got scared too. After Garner moves in, a strange woman named Beloved enters their lives, causing turmoil, which they should have used their discernment when that girl came knocking on the door. Let's get into this clip.
Spiritual perspective, let's get into it. Child, Beloved is a long 2-hour, 50-minute movie that came out in 1998, and it was based on Toni Morrison's novel Beloved that came out in 1987. Some people categorize it as a gothic psychological horror, but really, Beloved is a very spiritual historical film. And come on, y'all already know that anything centered in root work, hoodoo, or African spirituality at all is going to be categorized as like a stay away scary type of movie. But that's really not what this is. See, a lot of people think that the main character of Beloved is Setha, who's played by Oprah Winfrey, but really the main character, when we looking at it from a spiritual perspective, Baby Shug. Baby Shug is the main character of Beloved, honey. See, this film is set right after the Civil War, and as we all know, right after the Civil War, a lot of our enslaved ancestors were not immediately set free. Setha plays a young woman who ran from the plantation that she lived on called Sweet Home. The reason that Setha ran from Sweet Home is because she was brutally raped by the nephew of the plantation owner. Now, it's important to note that when Setha ran for her life, she had 3 children, 2 boys, 1 girl, and she also was pregnant with one on the way. She ended up birthing that child on her way to freedom that she named Denver after the woman who helped her birth her baby. Denver is played by Kimberly Elise. And I have to say, Kimberly Elise was brilliant in the role of Denver, honey. The emotion. Y'all know how Kimberly do. Now, Baby Shug is Setha's mother-in-law who was free. So Setha ran to Baby Shug's house, but unfortunately her husband did not make it. She couldn't find him. He never turned up. And see, this is when we get into the spiritual side, because Baby Shug was known as Baby Shug Holy. She was a root worker, a conjure woman, a preacher. Now, one of the most spiritual moments in the movie is when they showed Baby Shug leading the ring shout. For those of you who don't know, the ring shout is a traditional hoodoo ceremony in which a conjure person, a preacher, or any well-respected elder from the community would gather the community together in order to praise God and welcome spiritual energy.
I'm gonna give you this designer bag if you can prove to me that you know your finances.
Well, let's do it.
How many subscriptions do you...
It looked a little something like this.
Women, I want you to weep. Just weep. For the nigga. For the dad.
Unfortunately, Setha's freedom only lasted 28 days because on the 29th day, the owners of Sweet Home Plantation came to get Setha and her 4 children, but Setha refused to go down without a fight. When Setha saw the owners of Sweet Home Plantation coming to get her, she ran off to one of Baby Suge's barn with her 4 children. She attempted to unalive all 4 of the children. Fortunately, 3 of her 4 children survived, her 2 sons and her baby daughter Denver, but her little girl, who she had her neck, didn't survive. Now, after Setha unalived her child, she was detained and sentenced to hanging, but she was saved by a prominent family known as the Baldwin family. They knew Baby Suge. They loved Baby Suge, so they saved Setha. And we know all of this because throughout the entire film, Setha is telling her own story. And in that story, she's paying homage, ancestor reverence of sorts, to Baby Suge for being her saving grace. Not just saving her from enslavement, but also saving her from the hanging. Now, Setha goes on to live free with herself and her 3 children. Remember, her baby daughter Denver survived and her 2 boys. She goes on to live in a house, but that house is haunted. And this is when a lot of people start getting scared. Now, in hoodoo or root working communities, spirits are not necessarily referred to as ghosts, especially when those spirits don't mean you well. They're referred to as haints. Setha's house is haunted by a haint. And baby, that haint is aggressive. It destroys things. It throws things. The movie evens open up with the dog being thrown up against the wall, all kind of stuff. The haint is so aggressive that Setha's 2 sons end up leaving and nobody knows where they are. They run because they're afraid of this haunted house. So we don't even really get to see the sons. All we know is that Setha is presently there with herself and her daughter Denver. And baby, things start to get crazy when Pauly D, a friend of Setha's from Sweet Home, the plantation she ran from, pops up into town. Pauly D comes in, and this is when the spiritual symbolism comes in, because he sees red. Red symbolizes evil, the presence of an evil energy. When Pauly D walks in the house, he sees red, and he says, girl, what kind of evil you got here? And he ends up driving out the evil spirit energy, the haint.
Young girl living in a haunted place.
Hush, I say. Got a tree on my back. I hate my house.
And baby, that haint reincarnated as Beloved.
What might your name be?
This is when we get introduced to the brilliant Thandi Newton, who plays the character Beloved. Now, Beloved is supposed to be the reincarnated haint. Beloved seems to have emerged out of nowhere, and she's beautiful. Now, the thing about Beloved, how they show her, is that she appears to be cognitively delayed, or what some people would term as a little slow. Something's a little off. Setha takes Beloved in and starts caring for her. Now, Setha doesn't know who Beloved is. All she knows is that she's a young girl who needs some help. Beloved ends up staying there. Now, Setha and Pauly D end up becoming very close. They're pretty much in a relationship. They start reminiscing a lot on Sweet Home, and this is where more symbolism comes in. Now, keep in mind, Pauly D just came to town, so he doesn't know much about what's been going on with Setha, but he starts bragging to everybody in the town that he wants to have a family with Setha, and his friends pull up an article like, hey, you need to know who she is. Now, of course, that scares Pauly D because that has him thinking like, oh, you unalived your child, that's why you got this crazy evil energy up in here. And on top of that, that's why you done welcome this random girl who, to me, she's a little weird. Like, what you got going on? And not only does Pauly D think Beloved is a little weird, but he also think Beloved put a root on him. She fixed him. Why? Because one night Beloved came into the room while Pauly D was asleep, and baby, she did some things to Pauly D. He started seeing red. Remember, the spiritual symbolism of the color red is some type of evil energy. He starts seeing red after that. Well, at this point, Pauly D is already already like, what is going on? So he confronts Setha about what he heard, and that's when Setha reminds him of where they come from. And this is where the symbolism of the trees come into play. Setha has a scar on her back in the shape of a tree. Now, the tree symbolizes the root of slavery, the harsh trauma of slavery. Think about it. Setha was sentenced to be hung from a tree. She lost a lot of the people that she loved because of hangings from trees, and they beat the scar of a tree on her back after they had raped her. Despite Setha explaining why she did what she did, Paulie D is still like, this is too much for me. Still, he walks away from Setha. Setha realizes that Beloved is actually her reincarnated daughter after she catches Beloved humming a song that only her children knew. Beloved puts her head back and she sees the scar on her neck, and that's her sign that Beloved is her reincarnated daughter. So now she knows that the Haint has reincarnated into Beloved. Now, Beloved is a Haint, so she's there with a vengeance, but Setha doesn't know that. Setha starts spoiling Beloved and treating her like a queen, spending all her money, and baby, once she ran out of money and she no longer has sweets to appease her. See, let me tell you about that. In hoodoo or root worker communities, it is believed that you put out something sweet like cake or pie or fruit to appease the Haints, to appease the spirits so that they don't bother you. Well, Setha ran out of money and ran out of sweets, and that's when Beloved started acting up. She eventually rooted or fixed Setha and had Setha basically lose her mind. Denver grows older and she starts leaving the house to get work. And once again, this is where Baby Suge comes in. Baby Setha was so out her mind that she could no longer work to support her family, so Denver started going to work. Well, the community came together to support Denver and take care of Denver as well as Setha because they love Baby Suge so much. And baby, once the community found out what was really going on at that house and they found out who Beloved was, they got together for what's called a Tarian service to cast that spirit up out of there, and it worked. Child, Beloved is in.
Okay, old girl, describe that movie to a T2, because I low-key want to watch that too. But this is exactly what I be talking about. A lot of these movies is spiritual. If you're not spiritual, then you probably wouldn't understand. You would skip over a lot of this stuff. But like I said, I think the light-skinned woman, Beloved, that's representing like an entity. And you see how they came together at the end, basically, you know, worshiping, praising, and then it left. But it's a lot of other different things. The man try to run it out, talking about he see red. So that could be a spiritual gift in some aspect, you hear what I'm saying? Like how like empaths feel energy and stuff like that. But this movie was overall real spiritual. If you go back and watch it, just pay attention from a different point of view, not from your worldly eyes, from your spiritual eyes, you get what I'm saying? But anyway, that wraps this video up. Shout out to all the creators that was in the video, you get what I'm saying? And bye.